Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, I'm back and it is Friday, July 17th, and it is 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time. I know, I've got to back it up, but these days are just jam-packed. And actually, today, from the time that I first opened my eyes until the time that I've done this show, except for a phone call, I have been working straight through. Not necessarily just on today's show. I've been doing a lot of, I've got hair. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of research. Now, I am going to be going through all of the Q posts on my own and pulling out those things that I feel uncomfortable with, because a lot of people took issue with some of the things I said, and I do want to offer a correction. I'm not going to belabor it today at all, but I do want to make a correction. No, it was not Q that talked about ascension, but he does talk about coming together, uniting, and a brand new world of peace where everybody gets along and so forth. So yeah, and as a Christian, I don't believe that the world is getting better and better. I believe that it, according to the book of Revelation, gets worse until the coming of the Lord. Now, I thank you guys for those of you that were extremely kind to me, and I am so appreciative of that. And even some people, I had one person that said, I don't agree with your beliefs. I'm a New Ager, but you present good information, and I'm, as long as you respect my beliefs, and I'll respect yours. And you know what? That's okay. I'm not asking everybody to think like I do. I don't really want everybody to think like I do. I want everyone to be Christian, of course, but I respect people's decisions. Now, having said that, I am going to pull out those things that concerned me so that you will be able to lay eyes on them and be able to discern for yourselves. Okay, and that way it won't be ambiguous. Now, having said that, and please listen to what I'm saying. I am not against Trump. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. I am pro-Trump because what else is there? We have no choice but Trump, and Trump has been doing a great job. My only concern is that people will blindly follow, blindly trust, and we don't know what the end game is. So far, I don't have any issue with Trump. He seems to be doing a wonderful job. He's done better than, I think, probably any president before him. And he's doing wonderfully. I fully expect that he'll get in. And that's great. I think that at best, he's buying us more time. But anyway, and the second thing I wanted to state is that I'm not against Q per se. I think that Q has presented us with very valuable information, and I will continue to look at the Q posts. Now, whether or not you wish for me to share them, because I did lose listeners, a lot of people said, well, goodbye, and that's okay. I respect everyone's decision, and I fully understand. I'm not upset at all about that, so anyway, I am going to be following Q posts. My only concern is the end game. And this isn't brand new or coming out of left field, because I've stated this all along. It's just, I had a concern because I know that I've got a lot of new listeners, and I know that I haven't really stated that in a long time. So I wanted to be perfectly clear about where I stand. And I hope you understand that. I'm not bashing anyone. I'm just saying that personally, I have some concerns. Now, the information that we've gotten from Q has proven to be correct as far as I know. And the proof will be in the pudding. When we see everything that Q has been speaking about transpire, then yes, the information's good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the end game is good. So just try to understand where I'm coming from here. I'm just cautious. And I would hope that all you are cautious as well. And I would hope that I don't want anybody to listen to me blindly and just trust me. I don't want that. I want you to hold me accountable and, hold it up. If you're a Christian, hold it up to the light of the word. And if it doesn't agree, then stop listening. Really. I mean that because, we're all possible of error. And, I really appreciate it when listeners take the time to correct me on something. I really appreciate that. Now, I know that some YouTubers get really defensive. No, I'm not at all, because I'm just flesh and blood. I make errors just like we all do. So why would I be upset with someone correcting me? I want the right information to go out. So, all right. So that's all I have to say about that. And I do want to give a hearty thank you to those of you that have are sticking by me. I have lost some viewers and probably a lot of support, but it's okay. It's all right. I'm good with that. I would rather be true to what I believe and whatever. But I don't want to belabor this anymore because we do have news to get to. Now, the other thing I just want to mention briefly is there are Q posts from today. The Q, Q itself, the Q map board has been down and for a few days now, actually, and it's up now, and there are Q posts from today. Now, let me know in the comments whether you want me to cover them or not. I'm going to be looking at the posts regardless, so it doesn't matter to me. But I think that there was a few people really upset with me over what I had to say about Q, and that's all right. That's all right. I am going to be going through those posts and presenting what I have to say with the posts, so that you can't say, no, he didn't say that. So, all right. So let me know if you want me to continue to cover them or if you just want me to go with the news. My other thing is too, quickly, I am going to be doing some things on the book of Revelation and the end times and so forth. Do you want me to keep that separate from this channel? Would you like this to be dedicated to news and possibly, well, I do have another channel. I just haven't posted much over there, and it's called The Other Channel, oddly enough. And so if you would rather me keep those separate, let me know in the comments, because I'll do whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to post it regardless somewhere. So if you want to keep this just for news and that over there, not like this stuff over there, that's fine as well. Let me know what you guys think. And I appreciated all your comments and your feedback. And I really appreciated some of the comments, more than you could possibly know. So anyway, let's move ahead with the news now, okay? Got that out of the way, and I'll stop blabbing and I'll get into the news. All right, here is the first item. They're not in any particular order or not in any order of importance or anything like that. I just pull them out as I come to them. Now, this statue of Jesus toppled and beheaded in Miami. So we are seeing this more and more. We saw damage to the Virgin Mary, and now we've got this damaged statue. And I think it's not just that they're going after statues of, Civil War leaders and so forth. They're targeting religion as well now. And I had a feeling that was what was coming next, and I wouldn't be surprised if vandalizing churches is not far behind this. Okay, and this by Christian De La Rosa. Jesus statue found vandalized at a church in Kendall. The Archdiocese of Miami wants it investigated as a hate crime. And actually, it is a hate crime. Because, there's lots of things that I don't agree with. But I don't go to their churches and, tear things down. So I don't know. Anyway, and it says, but it's about racism. No, it's not about racism. It's about, targeting someone of a certain religion. Just like it's wrong to decimate Jewish temples and everything else. Or Jewish grave sites, which has been happening more frequently. Anyway, via the Washington Examiner, a statue of Jesus Christ was vandalized in Miami on Wednesday morning, and the Archdiocese of Miami expects it will be investigated as a hate crime. The statue, located at Southwest Miami-Dade's Good Shepherd Catholic Church, was found decapitated and removed from its pedestal, and the Reverend Edivaldo de Silva believes it was a targeted attack, according to WSVN News 7. Obviously not, that's for sure, De Silva said when asked if the statue fell over on its own. They had some powerful hands to remove it. Seeing what is happening in our country, I presume so, but we don't have 100% assurance. Now, here's the thing. I think they're more targeting Catholic churches, because Protestant churches, evangelical churches, don't generally have statues. They may have a cross on the front of the church or in the church, but I've never seen a statue in a Protestant church, actually. So, well, maybe some Anglican, I don't know, but I think it's pretty rare. So anyway, let's move on from that. I just wanted to mention it, and let's pull up the next thing. And here we are. Okay, now, this is disturbing, if you ask me. This is an Amazon employee working in the warehouse, packing items, and she put on her, whatever, I guess this is Twitter or whatever this is, Instagram or whatever, wherever she posted this, she said, how to pack Trump merchandise. Now, there is music in the background, which is probably copyrighted, so I'm not going to play it. She doesn't say anything, so it doesn't take away from the video per se. But let me make this bigger for my tiny phone people, and let's see how the Amazon employees, now maybe it's just her, maybe it's a lot of others, because how could she do this right out in the open without being reported and fired? And I hope she is after this. Let's look at her pack Trump merchandise. Oops, sorry, hang on here. I forgot to mute it. All right, there we go. You can see she's just being so careful. Oh, yes, and look at her just slap that on there, and yeah, that's apparently, now what she's doing is she's packing Trump merchandise, and she's obviously not too happy that she has to pack it, even though she's being paid by Amazon to pack. Yeah, you can see she's being real careful. So if you get your Trump merchandise from Amazon and it's damaged, I guess you'll know why. That's great. Now, she needs to be fired. They're paying her to do a job, and she's not doing it. Unbelievable. And isn't she supposed to be wearing a mask so she doesn't breathe all over the packages? She's wearing gloves. Now, I'm not for masks anyway. I'm really not. I don't care. I really don't. And I was so happy because I went to my chiropractor, and, when we got into the treatment room, he said, look, you look uncomfortable. You can take your mask off in here. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he said, you just have to put it on before you leave. But yeah, I think not a mask person, don't agree with it. But still, if she's supposed to be wearing a mask there, and she's not, some people might find that pretty off-putting. Not me, personally, because I don't buy the whole narrative of this virus. But yeah, I think you know where I'm going with that. And let's go to the next one. Alrighty. Police, Florida cop beaten unconscious, gets head stomped during attempted arrest. This is happening more and more and more. I'm just seeing so much video with this, and I'm seeing other videos where, police pull over somebody and they're being pulled over for speeding or whatnot, and the person just won't cooperate. That's how misunderstandings happen. If you get pulled over, cooperate. If they ask you to get out of the car, get out of the car. You're making it much worse. If you're innocent, that's going to come out. But, resisting arrest and, being abusive to the officer, it's just going to compound whatever you just did. If you have a traffic arrest, or if you have a traffic violation, it's going to end up in, an arrest and it's not going to end well. I don't understand why people don't understand that. Whenever I was pulled over by the police in the States, I would always make sure my hands were on the wheel. I waited for them to tell me what to do before I made any moves. And I'd always say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. And when they asked me for, your insurance or driver's license and so forth, I always was polite. I showed them my hands. They asked if I had a weapon. I'd say no. And, I moved slowly. Yeah, because you know what? It's a scary, scary thing being an officer, because you don't know who has a gun. You don't know when you just pull over somebody for a traffic stop if they've just murdered somebody and they're fleeing, or if they've just robbed a bank and you don't know. And so their jobs are scary enough as it is. Why make it worse for them? So anyway, a police officer in Florida was seriously injured Thursday morning when a suspect knocked him out and stomped on his head. The Atlantic Beach Police Department said the incident occurred after the department received a call around 5 a.m. about a person causing a disturbance in a Panera Bread parking lot. WTLV TV reported when the police officer arrived on the scene, he became engaged in a physical struggle with the suspect. The suspect punched the officer until he was unconscious and then began to stomp on his head. Nice guy. The police department reported that when a backup officer arrived, the suspect said something like, "You're gonna have to kill me." He then approached the second officer and tried to reach for the officer's gun. The backup officer fired one shot at the suspect, who was struck but continued to be combative. He remained uncooperative. He was taken to the hospital, police said. The first officer suffered injuries to his face and hands, WTLV reported. This is a terrible thing to happen in Atlantic Beach. Atlantic Beach Interim Police Chief Vic Galillo told the station. Debbie Kane, an employee at the Vintage Barbershop near where the altercation occurred, said she was shocked to see the police vehicles in the parking lot when she arrived at work. "I thought this was a super safe neighborhood. I couldn't imagine what was going on," Kane told WTLV. I don't know if this is actually the video, but let's see.
That top story, an officer being unconscious in Atlantic Beach. This all happened around 5 this morning outside of the Panera Bread in Atlantic Beach. Employees called police after saying the suspect was causing some kind of disturbance in the parking lot. Police say when the first officer arrived, the man attacked the officer, causing injuries to his head. The backup officer arrived and shot the suspect, who was taken to a local hospital. On your side's Troy Pless joins us live tonight with the rest of the details. Troy.
Thank you, Anthony. Early this morning, most of the evidence markers for the investigation were right around where that planter is by that tree, if you see off in the distance. The scene has since cleared, but we do want to talk a little bit about the officer that was hurt. The Atlantic Beach Interim Police Chief says that officer has a lot of experience. He was with JSO for 27 years before retiring from there and working with Atlantic Beach Police for 18 months. That officer, who has been identified, is expected to be okay, but may have a long road to recovery.
So this is a terrible thing to have happen in Atlantic Beach?
Atlantic Beach Interim Police Chief Vic Galillo describing the violent confrontation. Police say that Panera employees called for help. As soon as the first officer arrived, a man who may be in his early 20s attacked the officer once he arrived.
Witnesses in the area confirm that the officer was laying on the ground and the suspect was actively punching him in the head while he laid in the ground.
That officer was knocked unconscious. Police say the suspect stomped on the officer's head. When a backup officer arrived, the suspect said something like, "You're going to have to kill me." The backup officer asked the man to stop, but the suspect reached for his gun. The officer shot the man once, and still he didn't cooperate before he was taken to a nearby hospital. Both the man and officer have non-life-threatening injuries. Debbie Kane, an employee at Vintage Barbershop, arrived to work seeing dozens of police vehicles in the parking lot.
I was shocked, I really was. I just thought this was a super safe neighborhood, and I just couldn't imagine that it was something like that. I didn't know.
It's the first officer-involved shooting in 20 years in Atlantic Beach, according to the interim police chief. He is also relieved that the officer will be okay.
That officer is doing okay. He was able to talk to me. We anticipate he should recover, but it may be a while before he can come back to work.
Police say witnesses have been helpful, but they are asking that anyone with cell phone or surveillance video of the shooting to send it to either the Atlantic Beach Police Department or JSO, who will be helping in the investigation of what happened here early this morning. We're live in Atlantic Beach. Troy Kless, First Coast News, on your side.
Now, yeah, that's awful. And, you know, if you are a believer, we really do need to pray for our police officers. Yes, there are some bad ones. We need to pray that they get rooted out. But there's an awful lot of good ones, and that was certainly undeserved. But did you notice that that reporter in an empty parking lot was wearing a mask? Why? I find it so difficult. Now, I didn't have any difficulty understanding what he said, but when I'm out and shopping, I am constantly having to say, what, pardon me? I can't understand, and I don't understand why he would be wearing a mask except virtue signaling in an empty parking lot like that. But there you go. All right, let's go back now and let's look at this. It doesn't make any sense. Outrage in Detroit after teenager detained for missing online homework. Boy, I guess they're serious in Detroit. I know if Grace was a 15-year-old white girl, she would not be sitting in juvenile detention right now, protester says. I don't know about that. Well, maybe, because here's this girl saying, I didn't do my homework either. Free Grace. Well, it's ridiculous that she's being detained. But this could actually just be more propaganda. So we have to be careful and cognizant of that as well. The detention of a 15-year-old girl who was said to have violated her probation. Okay, she violated her probation. That to me is end of story, because it's really not about her not doing her homework. It's about her violating her probation. See how the news is trying to slant all this and make it seem, because from this headline, when I read this headline, I'm outraged. I'm like, what? That's horrible. Then I come down here and I see a white girl holding up a sign that says, I didn't do my homework either. Free Grace. And you're like, yeah, that's awful. And then you come down here and you see it's not about the fact that she didn't do her homework. She violated her probation. That is the news that we have these days, and it's unfortunate. Anyway, the teenager, named only as Grace and in an extensive report by ProPublica, was sent to Children's Village in Oakland by a judge who ruled she broke her probation by failing to complete her schoolwork remotely. Well, if that was part of her probation, that she attend online and whatever, then it's part of your probation. I remember when I worked for the police here, I worked for the provincial police, and I remember, they would, we had to sign in people, they'd have to check in. They were on probation and they would have to check in so often at the police station and present themselves. Well, part of their probation is that they can't drink alcohol. And as soon as this person arrived, I could overwhelming smell of alcohol, and he had to be arrested. And and he's like looking and saying, why? Well, you violated your probation, and I'm sorry, but that's the laws of the land. But so if that was part of her probation, then that judge did nothing wrong. Irrespective of her race. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, or purple polka dotted. If that's your probation, that's your probation. Grace, who is black and has ADHD, has reportedly been detained at the center since mid-May. The decision has sparked outrage from students, teachers, and residents who organized a protest outside her school in a court in Michigan on Thursday, holding up signs that read "Free Grace" and "Black Lives Matter." Now, if the person was white, and I have no doubt if this person was white, they would have been detained as well, because it's not about schoolwork, it's about violating your probation. So I'm just saying, they're making this into a race thing, and it's not. The teenager had initially been placed on probation in mid-April after facing assault and theft charges. The charges stem from an incident involving her mother and the theft of a classmate's mobile. According to the report, completion of her schoolwork was listed as a requirement of her intensive probation. However, Grace reportedly said that she quickly became overwhelmed by remote home learning. Who can even be a good student right now? Ricky Watson Jr., Executive Director of the National Juvenile Justice Network, told ProPublica. Well, I'm sorry, but you know what? I've got 3 degrees and a bunch of associate degrees as well, just because I'm strange like that. I love to learn. And, you know, the thing when you go to school for the love of learning, you still get degrees. But anyway, every single one of them, I had to work. I worked full time when I went to university the first time. I had to pay for my own way through. And so, you know, that's not an excuse. Well, who can even learn this day? Come on. You know what? There's women that have children to care for, single mothers that attend and do degrees online, and they manage. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. But it does illustrate how they're trying to reframe everything about race when it's not. That had nothing to do with race, and they're making it about it. And that makes me very upset, because it wouldn't matter what nationality she was, or what color, what race, what religion she was. It wouldn't have mattered. She violated her probation. End of story, as far as I'm concerned. All right, but you guys can weigh in on that. Also, let's look at this, because this is fairly fascinating as well. And it's from Independent, so it's probably biased. I don't know. I'm really not sure about this website. I've used it before, but that story was way biased. All right, let's look at this. Plague squirrels. Yeah, as if we don't have enough to worry about. Plague squirrels spread Black Death in Colorado and kill teenage boy in Mongolia. Okay, now this is a little bit fear-inducing as well. I just believe that they are trying to, okay, somebody died in Mongolia, one person in the universe died, and now we've got a plague. Come on. We have had a bubonic plague in the United States before, but it responds to antibiotics. So nothing to be all, woo. Anyway, the Black Death has returned to Colorado after an infected squirrel passed the bubonic plague onto a human in the state for the first time in 5 years. It happened 5 years ago. Nothing new. It comes as health authorities continue to monitor an outbreak of bubonic plague after a 15-year-old boy died in Mongolia from eating an infected marmot, a type of ground squirrel. The World Health Organization, meanwhile, is carefully watching China after local authorities ordered a herdsman near the border of Mongolia to quarantine in an effort to prevent the spread of the deadly infection. The Black Death has made somewhat of a comeback in recent years after ravaging Europe in the Middle Ages. It has been classified as a re-emerging disease, with the WHO estimating, and we can trust them, between 1,000 to 2,000 infections annually in a world of, what are we up to now? Hang on here. I gotta check. It's been a while since I checked. Hang on here. I don't know what I'm doing. First day with the new hands. World population 2020. 7.8 billion. So out of 7.8 billion people in the world, we have 1,000 to 2,000 people that get infected with the bubonic plague that responds very quickly to antibiotics. And they're not scaremongering or fear-mongering, are they? Between 1 to 17 cases of human plague are reported in the U.S. each year, with 4 people killed by the Black Death in the country in 2015. The most recent case was spread from an infected squirrel that tested positive in Jefferson County last week. Now, I'm not sure how this squirrel passed it to a human unless it bit Plague has been present in Colorado since at least the 1940s, and cases in wild rodents in Colorado are reported most years, said Dr. Jennifer House, state public health veterinarian. While we see most plague activity during the summer, the disease can be found in rodents year-round and sometimes spill over into other wildlife species as well as domestic cats and dogs. Well, if my cat's got the bubonic plague, that would just ruin my whole day. Really, it would. I'm not even joking about that. After a squirrel tested positive for plague, that's probably the squirrel right there. There's the culprit. Probably not. In Jefferson County last week, CDPHE reminds residents that it's not uncommon for plague to be present this time of year, and simple precautions can keep the risk of transmission to humans very low. Well, what are those precautions? Stay away from squirrels, or just, I don't know. Are they eating them? How are they getting infected? Are the squirrels biting them? Are they biting at their ankles? I don't know. Wear hip waders so the squirrels don't nip at you. Anyway, I'm leaving that because I just don't think that is a problem that's going to spread and kill us all, because it responds to antibiotics. All right, let's go on now. Squirrels. Okay, now let's look at this. Now this is a little piece of ridiculousness that you all may, well, you won't enjoy it, but excuse me while I itch my underarm. It happens. We have underarms and sometimes they get itchy. I'm not going to apologize. Okay, well, I am a little sorry about that, but sorry you had to see that. It's awful. Okay, as a violent crime in New York soars, de Blasio assigns 27 cops to protect Black Lives Matter mural. 27 cops. And you know that the death rate, the murder rate, way up in New York. Crimes are on the increase. Yeah, so let's assign 27 cops to protect a mural. Are you kidding me? How much taxpayer dollars are going to those cops to protect a mural? Yeah, police not happy about getting paid to babysit paint. Well, I wouldn't be either. I don't think that they went into policing because to guard paint. Pretty sure they didn't. Especially when a lot of 911 calls are not getting answered, domestic violence, all that, it boggles the mind, doesn't it? Even as violent crime and deadly shootings in New York soar, Mayor Bill de Blasio has reportedly assigned no less than 27 cops working in shifts to protect a Black Lives Matter mural outside Trump Tower. Just heard that New York City Mayor has 1 and 8 securing the Black Lives Matter mural at Trump Tower. It isn't even a mural. It's just Black Lives Matter painted on the road. That's not a mural. Anyway, that's 1 sergeant and 8 cops times 3 tours a day. Violence, shootings, and murder is up in New York City, and this clown has 3 sergeants and 24 cops guarding a mural. Sickening. He says, if true, sickening. This is Bernard B. Carrick said, and we actually just read this tweet, but there is the tweet. And he said his claim was backed up by Derek Gibson, who is running for governor of New York. Gibson said that he spoke to cops on the scene who said they are getting paid to babysit paint and not happy about it. No, I would be quite upset if I was working as a policeman and I had to guard paint. And Derek Gibson said, it's true. I was just there and spoke to the cops. They say they're getting paid to babysit paint and not happy about it. De Blasio and his wife helped paint the Black Lives Matter mural on July 9th before it was subsequently vandalized, leading the mayor to assert the Black Lives Matter movement is more than words and it can't be undone. Even before the recent riots, major crime in New York City had soared by 22% thanks to bail reforms that allowed suspects to avoid jail and reoffend. Last month, it was reported that there have been 38 murders over the last 28 days, up until June 14th, twice as many as the previous year. Isn't that lovely? On Monday alone, 18 people were shot in 14 separate incidents. 6 New York Police Department officers were also injured during clashes with protesters on the Brooklyn Bridge on Wednesday. The city has already cut next year's police budget by $1 billion, leading Houston lawyer Howard Steele to comment he is spending his reduced police budget on guarding his arts and crafts project instead of New York lives. Well, isn't he? Others pointed to the irony of having so many police guard a mural for a movement that explicitly hates them and wants them to be abolished. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, does it? Yeah, they only want the police. It was like that one video I saw where, you know, they're going, F the police, and then a guy comes out with a chainsaw and they're like, somebody call the police. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, there you go. And that was by Paul Joseph Watson. All right. Now, okay, I just saw Sammy. I was getting worried because I keep hearing something and I thought, I think that I locked one of the cats in the closet. Well, there's Sammy, and so I will assume that they're okay, because it's usually Sammy that runs into places and gets shut in. All right. Okay, and let's look at this. Seems to be happening more and more. It says, video, boyfriend desperately tries to protect his girlfriend as couple beaten by mob inside airport. Another incident of black on white violence caught on camera. Excuse me. Well, I'm just rude tonight, aren't I? A shocking video filmed inside an airport shows a couple being viciously beaten by a mob as the boyfriend desperately tries to protect his girlfriend. The video is going viral on Twitter, but it has yet to be established at which airport the incident took place. The clip begins with a young white woman involved in a verbal spat with a group of young black women. The white girl smacks her own backside as the girls yell violent threats. Says, fly the friendly skies. Yeah, not so much. So I think, okay, yeah, and look, the airport employees just stood by watching and filming. Friendly skies indeed. Okay, well, let's take a look at this, and I'll make it. They're at the carousel where you pick up your luggage, and the boyfriend is right here is covering her because they've been punching and kicking and slapping and whatever. And so you can see, well, right there, I'm not sure if that's an airport employee or not, but you'll see them. So that's the boyfriend right there, and they were trying to pull him off of her because he was protecting her. He's protecting her. Yeah, and the airport employees stood by and did nothing. Absolutely nothing. What is this about, all those people on one? Now, I don't care what she said. People say things all the time that are rude to one another, but you don't, that's I don't know. The video then cuts to a disturbing scene of the boyfriend on top of the luggage belt trying to shield his girlfriend from an attack as the mob tries to beat her. The black woman punches the young man in the head while trying to drag him away so they can get to the girl. Respondents pointed out that airport employees appeared to be standing around doing nothing to intervene, with one well, this is not well written, while one stood by recording on their phone. So here are the airport employees and one person just, filming it, probably for their own viewing pleasure later. And I don't understand. Why don't they call security? But no, they stand by and let it happen. And I don't want to mention this, but you can look at perhaps they stood by because it was a white girl. I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just saying. The clip then shows the young man trying to reason with the mob as he stands in front of his girlfriend. The video ends with the young man laying on the floor trying to protect his girlfriend's head as the mob rains down more kicks and punches. "This is sick," tweeted Jessica Fletcher. "Watch the man lay on top of his white girlfriend to protect her from being kicked in the head by a group of women." I predictably see no national media cover this. No, they won't cover it. They're not going to cover it. "This is sick. Watch the man lay on top of his girlfriend to protect." Okay, that's the tweet. And it's cowardice. Do not call it otherwise. A man is protecting his woman, not hitting his female attackers, who are in fact cowards. "The man is a hero, putting his body in danger," said another respondent. He never once tried to kick them, punch them, slap them. He just was trying to protect his girlfriend. He didn't try to hit back with any of them. He was trying to reason with them. Says always in a pack. It's always 5-on-1. Just a bunch of cowards, remarked another. This is not the only violent incident to have been caught on camera inside an American airport this week, and that's true. We're going to get to this one. After a Philadelphia-bound flight from, this blows my mind. After a Philadelphia-bound flight from Fort Lauderdale International Airport was delayed, another female mob began attacking Spirit Airlines employees while also hurling bottles and other objects, upset because their flight was delayed. And this is how they behaved. I'll make this bigger for you tiny phone people.
Now, more breaking news at noon. Video just into our newsroom of a wild scene at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport.
Yeah, let's get right to Ian Margle at FLL to tell us about all this.
Yeah, guys, this turned violent quickly last night here at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. Take a look at this video we got from a man who was there. So it's unclear exactly what sparked the outburst, but it appears to be at the Spirit Gate for a flight to Philadelphia last night. You can see several women throwing things at Spirit Airlines employees and then eventually going back to the counter and physically attacking at least one of those employees. Again, no word on what sparked this, but we do know 3 women were arrested in relation to this. 20-year-old Timea Wright was charged with touch or strike battery and petty theft. 22-year-old Denisha Dixon is charged with touch or strike battery. And 21-year-old Kira Ferguson is also charged with touch or strike battery. Back out live here at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, the Broward Sheriff's Office tells us they are currently gathering more information for us about what happened here. We also reached out to Spirit Airlines to see how their employees were doing and see if they have any more details about this. As soon as we get any updates, of course, today we will let you know. Live at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, I'm Ian Margle, Local 10 News.
Now, more breaking news.
So that's, and you could see the pictures of them. They don't look like they're there's any remorse there at all. Can you imagine getting violent because your flight is delayed? This is the America that I know. When my brother was in a coma, and he was airlifted from Cleveland Hospital to Kingston, Ontario, And I didn't want him to go there because I knew what would happen to him. But here's the thing, that's not the issue. The issue was that I needed to get home as quickly as possible. Now, I didn't make it on time, but the flight, now, I can't remember whether it was winter weather or what, but the flight, the one flight was canceled. And there was people trying to get on this next flight, but there wasn't enough for everyone that needed to get on it. Well, do you know that the passengers actually, they said, oh, look, you know, I had talked to somebody and they said, oh, look, you know, and they told them that I was trying to get home because my brother was dying. And do you know, the passengers let me go first. They let me go first. And, you know, how did they know that I wasn't making that up? I guess probably because I was upset and crying, but still. And you know what? When I actually, and there wasn't any guarantee that I was going to get on the flight because it was only if there were empty seats and somebody didn't show up for that flight. They were trying to get as many people on it, but I was like near the first. And they weren't even sure that I was going to get on it. Well, when I got on it, all of those passengers that were waiting clapped. They clapped. And I will never forget that as long as, oh my gosh, those tears start, because I remember that and it meant so much to me. That's the America I know and love. All right, let's go back. Okay, and moving on. Bill Mitchell. Why do I keep seeing videos of young people beating up innocent other people? You can see here. Let me make this bigger for you tiny phone people so you'll know what I'm talking about. Why do I keep seeing the videos of young people beating up innocent people as authorities stand by and do nothing? I mean, I'm not making this up. No, Bill Mitchell, you're not making it up. That's exactly what's happening. And nobody is doing anything. All right, and here's another piece of news here. Video shows protesters receive shipment of bats just before bloody bridge brawl with the New York Police Department. Isn't that lovely? Now, this is from today. It's hot and fresh, but can you imagine? Yeah, they received a shipment of bats. All right, let's watch this. Okay, it says, now I haven't watched this yet. It says the following video contains images and photos that may disturb you. I don't know. It's 3 minutes and 45 seconds long. I'll see if it's too much, I'll turn it off, but I don't want to offend anybody. But if you're sensitive, just keep that in mind. Mostly peaceful is what they had to say about it. Okay, I don't actually see, this is just all, okay, I'm gonna stop this because they're not showing it. All right, hang on here. Let's come down here. Mostly peaceful, those are the two words we've heard ad nauseum from the media and politicians about the Black Lives Matter protests that have swept the nation in the wake of George Floyd's May 25th death after a police officer knelt on his neck for nearly 9 minutes during an arrest. By the way, that description is entirely accurate, and to the extent that there are issues with certain violent protesters, those aren't reasons to stop the demonstrations or condemn them in total. I think they mean in total. They said in toto, taking to the streets in order to demand redress for political or social grievances is a God-given right enshrined under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, quick, apply that logic to those protests against the lockdowns. However, on the left, mostly peaceful means ignoring the not peaceful contingent taking to the streets in order to loot and assault, which is politically expedient if logically curious. Drivers on the nation's highways are mostly sober, but that doesn't mean we should do away with breathalyzers. Malaysia Airlines flights mostly don't disappear, but odds are you wouldn't have heard of the flag carrier of the world's 45th most populous country if it weren't for a very specific outlier. In terms of the protests, one of the egregious outliers happened on Wednesday morning. It wasn't hidden away in some corner of the country, but instead occurred on one of America's most renowned landmarks. And it looks like it may not have been spontaneous either. No, it never is. According to the Associated Press, at least 4 New York City Police Department officers were injured Wednesday during a clash on the Brooklyn Bridge. The injured officers included Chief of Department Terrence Monahan, who knelt in solidarity with protesters last month. Didn't do him a lot of good. 2 separate marches, one by anti-police activists and another helmed by pro-police demonstrators, including local clergy, apparently met in the area of the pedestrian walkway on the New York landmark. The pro-police group, marching under banner reading "We Support the New York Police Department," was protesting the recent explosion of violence in the city, including the shooting death of a 1-year-old in a stroller in Brooklyn. Video showed one of the anti-police protesters rushing toward a group of officers and reaching over a fence to smack one of them in the head with a cane, according to AP. And we did see that. And here's what happened to some of the police officers who had been marching with the pro-law enforcement activists. Well, let's take a look at this. Here we are. Yeah. So, let me go down here. The AP wasn't quite as focused on the injuries suffered by police officers, however. It was not clear how many protesters were injured. Wednesday's report read, an Associated Press photographer witnessed several people getting roughed up by police. See how biased the press is? Unbelievable. Including, it says, an Associated Press photographer witnessed several people getting roughed up by police, including a woman who ended up on the pavement with an officer pulling on her hair. Yeah, there's probably a lot more to that story. Now, this qualifies as bad, but not egregious. The problem is that violence may not have been an impromptu thing. Surveillance video reported on Thursday by the New York Post appears to show that anti-police protesters received a small shipment of bats outside of City Hall before the clash, probably paid for by Soros. Police sources said the bats were delivered so the anti-cop activists could confront a unity rally proceeding over the Brooklyn Bridge into Manhattan, the Post said. And there we can see them receiving that. Hang on, let me make this bigger. Well, maybe I can't. Yes, I can. Hang on here. Let's go back. I just want to show them receiving the shipment. I don't really know what's happening here. Well, when do we get to the bats part? Oh yeah, they've got bats. Yep. There's a car with a bunch of bats handing them out. So, now here's a short list of entities I can safely say, given the tumult our country has experienced in recent weeks, can reasonably be said to carry an infinitesimal risk of violence when they engage in protest marches. a unity march consisting of clergy and others revolted by the recent spate of violence that's overtaken their city. That's it. There you go. Now, in most circumstances, both sides of protests can be counted upon to be mostly peaceful. And either way, if you feel the need to gird yourself with bats before you go into a protest, you shouldn't be protesting. However, girding oneself for people protesting against violence doesn't necessarily sound a whole lot like self-defense. Yeah, this march was, showing unity for the police. And they showed up, the other side, anti-police, showed up with bats. Now, obviously planned, obviously not there to peacefully protest. It seems pretty clear that the bats were delivered to anti-cop protesters, although it's not known whether they were used in anger on the pro-police demonstrators. The New York Police Department did recover one bat after the melee, police sources told the Post. They said they did it peacefully. Tony Herbert, one of the organizers of the pro-police march, told the outlet, "How do you do it peacefully when you have someone swinging a cane?" They don't. They do it mostly peacefully. Yeah. And they're always going to say that, oh, protest was mostly peacefully. Mostly peaceful. Okay, now it is 11:01. I'm going to stop because I want to get this uploaded, but I have not even touched all the news that I have. So I think I'm going to come back and do another short video to try and get some more of this news out. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for sticking by me, guys. I appreciate that. Probably a lot more than you know. So thank you very much, and thank you, guys, those of you that pray for this channel and support it in one way or another. I certainly appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth, because deception bites.